Hello there. Today we'll be talking about evolution and interspecific interaction within MUIC, Mahidol University International College. Interspecific interaction is the interaction between species in a community. So we'll be covering competition, cooperation, mutualism, commensalism, predator and prey, and parasitism. And we'll be also mentioning some unique strategies some organisms use to survive. So first, competition is the interaction of individuals that fight for common resources that are usually limited. For example, you see on the picture on the right, mushroom, fungi, and fruiting body growing taller and bigger, competing one another so they can spread their spores. There are also weaver ants who are competing with another colony of weaver ants to find food and resources. And they also compete with another type of ants. There are also birds out there singing song, calling out for mates. They're competing for mate, food, and resources as well. And in our campus, there are monitor lizard who is also competing with another monitor lizard for food and resources and space for them to sleep. And this is competition.
Moving on to two other interspecific relationships that are often misunderstood and confused between the two, which are mutualism and cooperation. By definition, mutualism is when two organisms of different species work together, each benefiting from the relationship. For instance, pollination and dispersion are great examples of mutualistic relationships found in the MUIC community that is exhibited by, for example, the cannonball tree. The bees, insects, and butterflies obtain nutritious food in the form of nectar and pollen, and in return, they disperse the seeds. In addition, evolutionary-wise, mutualism is thought to have driven the evolution of much of the biological diversity we see, such as flower forms and coevolution between groups of species. Cooperation, on the other hand, refers to the increases in fitness through within-species intraspecific interactions, although it has been used to refer to mutualistic interactions that are not obligate. Therefore, cooperation may involve both interspecific and intraspecific interactions. Cooperation is truly everywhere. For example, weaver ants build nests together on a particular stem where the division of labors in ants is evident. Moreover, if we look further at a different interaction between the weaver ants and the plants on which they build their nest on, we see a mutualistic relationship. The plants would provide food and nutrients to that stem that the weaver ants are building their nest on, while the weaver ants protect the plant, both benefiting from this relationship. Next, let's look at some unique strategies taken up by plants that are advantageous and can help them survive. Firstly, trees, especially in the tropics, have adapted to have surface roots, as all the nutrients are closer to the surface in the topsoil. The topsoil, in fact, is actually nutrient poor, but the plants and animals that die and decompose are what makes the surface very nutrition rich. Therefore, roots growing closer to the surface is an adaptation driven by nutrient availability. Another strategy is that trees create spaces in their roots for organisms to occupy and fungi to grow, and in return, the waste products of those organisms that reside there are beneficial nutrients to the trees. Lastly, another strategy and a mutualistic relationship is the mycorrhizae, which is between the fungi and plants, in which the fungi improves the uptake of water and nutrients for the plants and themselves, while the plants provide space and carbohydrates from photosynthesis for the fungi.
So we come to the next one, which is commensalism. And commensalism is the relationship between the species that one species will benefit from the other, but the other one doesn't benefit or is not harmed by the previous species. So we can abbreviate into a plus and a zero, and some examples of them are in here. It might not be that obvious, but there are some smaller trees growing on the branch of a bigger tree. So for example, the ferns, if we look at a bigger picture, this is not from what we have captured, but here the ferns It doesn't grow root deep inside the branch of the tree, but it stays on the trees and it has some place to live and get their nutrients, but not harmful to the bigger tree or help the other trees to be beneficial. And another example would be the orchids and the bigger trees. These both examples are found on our campus, but we did not take any picture or video of it. So these are some examples.
The next relationship is predator and prey. In this relationship, an organism, the predator, eats another organism, the prey, for food. And since a long time ago, both predators and prey have been evolving, and some physical characteristics have been selected for to help both sides perform well in this relationship. Now, let's take a look at some examples that we can find on the Mahidol campus. So on the left side here, we have a bird called Asian openbill, and on the right side, we have golden apple snails, or rather the eggs and the shell. So golden apple snails are an invasive species, and they have a hard shell that they can hide inside. And so this protects them from being eaten by predators. Unfortunately, Asian openbill, which is one of the natural predators of golden apple snails, has a long beak, as you can see in the picture. And so the Asian openbill can insert its beak into the opening of the shell and pluck out the snail. So we can see that there are physical characteristics at play here on both the predator side and the prey side. Now let's move on to another example. So here we have an insect called Vinegaroon or whip scorpion, and it can be found under some rocks. So Vinegaroon, when it is attacked, it can release an offensive smelling liquid which contains acetic acid. And so this can drive away the Vinegaroon's potential predator.
The last interspecific interaction is parasitism.
By definition, this interaction involves two different species of organism, but the parasite benefit from the host and also cause the host some harm. As an example of parasitism interaction, one that could be found here at Mahidol Salaya campus is Asian coral. We hardly see its body, but we heard them quite a few times during the day. Here's an example of how it sounds like. Asian coral, or Eudynamis golipaces, is in the order of Cuculiformes. The male has bluish-black color, while the female is brownish with stripe. Both have red eye and greenish-gray beak. Asian coral is a brood parasite like most of the birds in the same order. It will lay its egg in the host nest and let the host take care of its offspring. There are evolution in color, pattern, and size of the Asian coral egg to look similar to its common host, namely house crow, common myna, and long-tailed shrike, as you can see here in the red box compared to its common host. The female bird will lay the egg in the host nest, mostly when there's an egg in the host nest already. It will also remove the host egg before it lays its own. The Asian coral egg will hatch before the host egg, on average around 3 days. This means that the Asian coral chick will get access to food earlier. As for the host, not only that they have to feed other bird chick, but they also lose their own chicks from this parasitism behavior. That is all for our group presentation about interspecific interaction in our university environment. I hope you enjoy it and may find some interesting interaction around your neighborhood. Thank you.